Okay, so here are some extra, here are the problems we went through in class and the notes really, and kind of finish up the notes here in section 8.6, law of sines, law of cosines. So number 1A is a law of sines problem because we're looking to solve for this side here, x. And in order to do law of sines, you have to know an opposite angle to solve for the opposite side, and then you have to have another pair of angle and side. So we have 78 degrees and 8. So the way the law of sines works is sine of an angle over its opposite side equals sine of an angle over its opposite side. Excuse me. Now, once we get that, we have a proportion. So we just cross multiply to solve. We get 8 times the sine of 60 equals x times the sine of 78. And then to solve for x, divide both sides by the sine of 78. That cancels off there. So x equals 8 times the sine of 60 divided by sine of 78 degrees. Now I'm going to throw in the calculator to get a decimal approximation. So put my calculator up, move it over here out of the way. Here's what I got to be careful at. It's going to be 8 times the sine of 60 degrees. Now, make sure first of all you're in degree mode, but secondly, once you get that, you got to make sure you close the parentheses there to tell it to stop taking the sine of 60, then divide by the sine of 78. Close your parentheses there. We get 7.08, which we'll just say 7.1. There we go. X is 7.1. Okay. All right. Next example. Another law of sines problem. All right. So again, I'm looking to solve for side x. The problem is I don't know I don't know the angle opposite it. That's angle R. But I do know that I have a triangle. So 37 plus 54 ends up giving me 91. And R is going to be 180 minus that. So it ends up being 89. So 89 degrees. And now that I know my angle and side pair I'm looking at, now I can see, do I have another angle and side pair? And yes, I do. Opposite angle, opposite side. So there's my proportion to set up using the law of sines. Sine of 89 degrees over side x equals sine of 54 degrees over 8. Okay. And now I can cross multiply. X times the sine of 54 equals 8 times the sine of 89. And then I got to get x by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by sine of 54. Okay. So x equals exactly 8 times the sine of 89 divided by the sine of 54, which is approximately, well, let's find out. So I'll have 8 times the sine of 89, and again, like last time, close the parentheses, divided by the sine of 54. Close parentheses. And that gives me 9.9 to the nearest tenth. Okay. All right. Now the last problem I'm going to look at is the law of cosines problem. So 3a from the section that we went over in class. Okay. So law of cosines. And I picked 3a because the letters don't match. Okay. Law of cosines, you have to know two sides and then the angle between them. You have to know side, angle, side in order to solve something. So the way the formula works is the side you're looking for, which we could call, let's call this lowercase g. G is d squared, or sorry, g squared is d squared plus f squared. It's always the other two sides, minus 2 times f times f times d. Okay, so it's the two sides squared added together minus 2 times the two sides multiplied together times the cosine of the angle opposite the side we're looking for. So angle G. So in this case, it would be x squared equals 19 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 19 times 15 times the cosine of 125 degrees. Okay. Now, in order to do this, then, we're going to have to do all this stuff here in the calculator. So I got to pull up my calculator. So 19 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 19 times 15 times the cosine of 125 degrees. That gives me 912 point whatever that is. 0.938 whatever. 5 dot dot dot. Now, the next thing I'll do then is to solve, you take the square root of both sides because that undoes the squaring. So here's the nice thing about the scientific calculator. You can do second square root and then do second answer. That's the minus sign there. It pulls up the previous number for us. And then just press enter. X is approximately 30.2. Now, if you don't have a graphing calculator like this, what you can also realize is, hey, I needed to do the square root of all of this anyway. So you can just do that. You could do second, it's kind of a pain in the neck, but you could do second square root. And on your scientific, it'll pull up parentheses and then just plug all this stuff in here. 19 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 19 times 15 times cosine of 125 degrees. And we get the same answer. Okay, so there's section 8.6. If you have any other questions or anything I didn't cover or you weren't sure about, come on in. I'll go over with you outside of class sometime. Thanks.